Welcome back to Turf Talk, older female edition. Vance, a lot of stars on display this past weekend. Super Saturday, California Chrome, some 2-year-olds, Flintshire upset. But to me, impossible to look past the accomplishment of Found winning the Arc de Triomphe, her trainer Aidan O'Brien sweeping the top 3 places, and of course Beholder and Stellar Wind extending their rivalry on Saturday. We'll start with the Arc Sunday morning our time. Where do you put Aidan O'Brien sweeping the top 3? Some comparisons to Dickinson. For me, it's one of the greatest training feats of all time.
Yeah, and the race is tough as the Arc, and normally you don't see trainers with too many multiple entries like Aidan O'Brien has. And like you said, to compare it to one of the great training feats of all time, it was truly a remarkable effort for Aidan O'Brien to do this on the toughest race in the world, arguably.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably right there with the Derby or the Melbourne Cup or some steeplechase events for sure. But look, in the past 15 years, we've had 2 trainers start 5 in the Derby. Neither one of them even won, let alone having multiple horses show well. Dwayne Lucas in his heydays probably had some big efforts from his 3-4 horse entries, but to me the Arc is certainly the apex for weight for age, older horses, and kudos.
Yeah, and he did it with a filly,
Right.
And a stayer who a lot of people didn't think was going to like the cutback from 1 3/4, 2 mile races down to 1.5 miles. He wound up finishing 3rd. So, like I said, it was a terrific effort. And just some other American examples. I mean, some of our California friends might remember Charlie Whittingham, even running 1, 2, 3 in races like the Hollywood Gold Cup
Right.
maybe years and years ago. So it's a very rare and unique distinction, and Aidan O'Brien did it in one of the greatest races in the world.
Yeah, and if you go multiple years instead of the same race, of course, we have Woody's 5 with the Belmont Stakes and Dwayne Lucas's stretch of 6 straight classic wins. To me, would be an example of the horizontal instead of vertical, but all exemplary. I mean, world class efforts.
And even in a secondary feature like the Del Mar Futurity, look at how Bob Baffert has dominated that race in the last 20 years, winning about a dozen of them. So
Many.
It's incredible.
And Frankel had the Matriarch, so certainly some niches, but the Arc, without a doubt, the most prestigious of all those we mentioned. So speaking of Found, likely to be over here for the Breeders' Cup Turf, we'll switch it to Eclipse Awards, which is one of my favorite topics. If she were to win the Breeders' Cup Turf and become the first Arc winner to do so within the same racing year, she already has the Breeders' Cup Turf on the front end if you want to go that way, but if she were to complete that sweep and Tepin were to lose, would Found get champion consideration?
She would definitely get some consideration from some voters, but just being a foreign-based horse and having the one victory against a filly like Tepin, who's done most of her work in America and beaten males multiple times, it's hard. It would be hard for me anyway to go overseas when we have such a legitimate, strong contender on these shores, even if she were to be upset in the mile.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be a tremendous accomplishment and one of the best 5-week periods we've ever seen, but her win last year doesn't affect this year in terms of voting. So would be great to see, and she'll have her hands full with Flintshire and several others, but yeah, I think Tepin is pretty safe.
Yeah, I've had the Eclipse ballot for about 15, 16 years now, and I've only gone overseas and just only in cases where there's no clear-cut division leader in this country. And I've even gone against the grain a few times. When Ouija Board won the second of her 2 eclipses, I stayed with an American-based horse. So like I said, I'll only go overseas unless there is no clear-cut choice in this country.
I did go overseas last year with Found as 3-year-old filly, not as champion turf female, which I did go with Tepin. Your vote in that category was Stellar Wind. They won't butt heads this year, but Stellar Wind, again in the conversation for an Eclipse Award, took a big step forward, beating Beholder again. But as I blogged about this morning, Cavorting also with 2 Grade 1 wins. Forever Unbridled also has 2, but head-to-head with Cavorting, she's 0 for 2, which to me has her below her for now. But if any of those 4 upset Songbird and the Distaff, they're clearly going to be the champion. What can they do if Songbird wins, though, to tip the scales in their favor?
Well, I'm going to propose in a blog today that I'm writing that maybe Stellar Wind's Connection should think about maybe running her in the Classic instead of the distaff. She really would have nothing to lose running second to California Chrome.
Right.
I always thought from the beginning of this year that this particular Eclipse race ran through Beholder, and we have a filly in Stellar Wind who's now beaten her 2 out of 3 times in that category. You know, she has that edge over that filly now, and having Breeders' Cup at her home track of Santa Anita, I think she would have the edge over Cavorting and Forever Unbridled as well. So I'm going to propose that, you know, based on the strength of her victory in the Zenyatta Stakes, where she earned a 107 Brisk speed rating. I mean, that's one of the best
Faster
that you
than
can.
Songbird.
It's faster than Songbird, and it's right up, not very far behind California
Right.
Chrome. So she might not have anything to lose stretching out to 1.25 miles. She might have a lot
She
to
would lose her jockey.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean, she's so good. I think any jockey could
Right.
probably win aboard her. And like I said, she risks the possibility of losing an Eclipse Award in the distaff. I don't see it quite happening. You know, I don't see Cavorting or Forever Unbridled performing as well at Santa Anita as she does. But you don't want to give that advantage away to your opponents if you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, and I saw some chatter this morning about Beholder going to the Dirt Mile, perhaps. Would be interesting. She's there. Stellar Wins in the Classic. To me, at that point, then, either Cavorting or Forever Unbridled would have to beat Songbird if the other two abscond to face males and don't perform well. I mean, obviously, a second behind California Chrome would be good enough for Stellar Win.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to reading that. We'll make sure the link is in the comments below. But certainly, Songbird, any hope that you might get some sort of price if Beholder had won this past weekend, now out the window. It's, to me, a matter of how low she'll go. I don't think she can be 1 to 5, can she?
No, I don't think she's going to be that low. I think Stellar Wind's performance in the Zenyatta was just way too strong. She's going to get significant support, and I would even consider backing her against Songbird. I just think that particular division.
Price will be right.
The price is going to
Yeah.
be definitely right. You know, maybe 5 to 2 perhaps.
Right.
or
Yeah.
Slightly lower. So yeah, right now she looks like the value play in the distaff.
Well, as I commented on Twitter after the race, I mean, the Beldame winner might be 20 to 1 if they all show up, which isn't to say that she's the most likely winner, but you know, she'll be the one running late of those 4, or of those 5.
Yeah.
Makes it interesting.
Yeah, she represents a lot of value considering her resume this year. So yeah, she's if you want to shoot for the moon and go for a big long shot, she's going to definitely reward you if she pulls the upset.
All right, well, there is one race left for the distaff. That's the Spinster on Sunday here at Keeneland, and Keeneland does open. Tons of win-in-your-in races, Breeders' Cup prep. Of course, plenty also at Belmont with the Champagne, Frizette, Jockey Club Gold Cup. One other one I'm forgetting. Do you know? Kelso?
Kelso's in there, and maybe some other sprint race or of some kind. Belmont Turf Sprint, I think.
There you go. All right, well, plenty to watch this weekend. We'll be back next week to wrap it up.